A2IM, the collective voice of independent music.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nabil Ayers. I am the U.S. General Manager at 4AD, a Beggars Group label based in New York. And my background as it relates to this conversation is that I owned a record store in Seattle called Sonic Boom from 1997 till 2016 when we sold it. And before that, my first job out of college was at a record store, Easy Street in Seattle. Let's do intros with everyone else. Anna?
My name is Anna Lundy, and I'm the manager of Grimey's Records in Nashville, Tennessee. I've worked there since the summer of 2004. It's crazy to think I've been there so long, but I also worked at record stores before that in college.
Hey, I am Dave Martin. I am the head of physical for the Omnian Music Group, which includes labels such as Capture Tracks and Cinderlin. And I have worked at many record stores throughout the years as well.
And Gerald.
Hi, I'm Gerald Hammill. I'm the content manager over at AudioSalad, which is a digital distribution platform company. Before my work at AudioSalad, which I joined in 2017, I worked for Other Music, a record shop in NYC from 2001 to when we closed in 2016, running pretty much the website and the email newsletter that we sent out.
I guess we can just jump into our topic, which is officially, I'll read this. How is indie retail adapting to this new reality? Obviously, a lot has happened in the last couple of months. Stores have closed. Hopefully, most of those are temporary closures, but obviously record stores, big physical locations, a lot of people are doing different things to try to create business and deal with their customers. And I guess this conversation just is really about what's going on with the hundreds of record stores who are doing that. So maybe it's best to start with Anna, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about what Grimey's and your community have going on.
It's been a crazy spring. We started off March with a tornado that devastated parts of East Nashville, affected us personally at Grimey's because one of the owners of the record store also owned a club that was leveled. And it really just disrupted the music community of Nashville, losing venues, and a lot of artists and musicians lost their homes, or at least were impacted. We had a power outage at my house for a week, but thankfully no damage, but just kind of sent Nashville reeling. And then almost immediately after that, we were hit with the pandemic, with being really directly affected by our mayor ordering not a shelter in place, but a safer at home order that meant that our store was not able to physically be open any longer. And Grimey's has always been a real deal brick and mortar record store where we have resisted essentially selling music online, only minimally selling on Discogs, and offering things like gift certificates and t-shirts on our website. So we were not at all ready to just shift gears, but that was what we really ended up doing. We started building out our web store and also leaning in on our community for help. And Nashville does have the benefit of having a lot of music industry infrastructure here, as well as a lot of artists. And oh my goodness, those folks have really come to our rescue.
I might as well bring in now the one very famous instance of somebody coming to your rescue.
Yeah, that's right. Turns out Taylor Swift, I guess, follows us on social media, or at least is aware of us on social media, and saw that we did have to shut our store down, and reached out to us through her publicist about how could she help. She had already donated $1 million to the Middle Tennessee Tornado Relief Fund, which is just awesome and certainly impacted our community, and was so generous of her. I know she's donated to a lot of her fans directly and indirectly. But after that, we received donations from a handful of record labels, 30 Tigers, Dual Tone, New West Records, Rounder Records. And not only have those labels specifically helped out by donating funds, but they've also set up really awesome promotions that have helped us specifically and independent record stores in general. New West Records set up a cool promotion with Steve Earle, who just had an album. Actually, his album is just about to be out, but they set up a promotion where they allowed independent record stores to solicit orders that you didn't even have to fulfill yourself, that they would take the orders via your account link and then provide shipping of this indie version to people, and do a virtual in-store performance with Steve Earle that you'd get access to by doing this. So stores like us could benefit, but even stores that weren't doing any sort of mail order could sign up for this promotion and get a benefit from that. And we were also lucky enough to be the place that they decided to film the in-store. So it'll be our second time we've had Steve Earle in the shop. And this time, I guess a lot more people got to see him than last time, because all those folks all over the country were able to be a part of that very exclusive in-store. Dual Tone set up a really cool t-shirt promotion that worked in a similar way, where they offered this link that you could sign up for as an indie record store, and anybody who purchased a t-shirt through your link would you'd then get that support for your store directly. So that's been amazing that those stores were doing that, not just for us, but for everybody. In addition to that, we've had the benefit of working with some of our more famous friends in Nashville and seeing, we've had albums signed by Lucinda Williams, and that's an artist that had played in the store before, but reached out specifically about a way that she could help us, and she could help us by signing records that we could sell on our website. And then Jason Isbell is an artist that's worked with 30 Tigers and that we have a close relationship with, because he's performed inside Grimey's or in our parking lot every record that he has released, I think, since he was in the Drive-By Truckers. And not only did he offer to sign inserts for us for the records that we offered as pre-orders on our website, but he moved his entire street date 1 week early for all independent record stores. So everybody in the country had the opportunity to, every indie record store in the country had the opportunity to have this record early and ship it early to fans. And not only did he do that, but he made a really awesome promotional video where he showed off the cool indie only version of his record. He made these cool posters to go with these records and really got that out to his fan base. And let me tell you, the fan base was really excited about it. And I know it was not just us that sold through all of our pre-orders. There were a lot of record stores that didn't end up even having the record for sale when it came out, because the pre-order was such a successful event.
That's incredible. I mean, to me, those are really inspiring, amazing stories. And, I think that's an example of it really, really happening in a very musical community. But I think it's happening in smaller ways around the country and hopefully around the world. But so much of it, to me, just points to the sort of the kinship between musicians and indie retail to begin with. And to me, none of that looks like charity or like, oh, we feel bad for these people. I think it's more artists and musicians and labels saying, these are the people who helped get us to where we are. And they're a really important cultural outlet. And this is where people talk about music and where people discover music. And I think it's really cool that people are realizing that and giving back for those reasons. And speaking of stores, maybe this is a good segue into the Other Music documentary, which is sort of another example of this. Do you want to talk a bit about that, Gerald?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which the Other Music documentary was going to have its film premiere across many theaters across the world, actually, at the time that the quarantine hit. And so Factory 25, which was a distributor of the film, got together with the filmmakers, the producers of the film, Rob and Paloma, and they set up a campaign in which you could get participating independent record stores could rent the film out through their website, and then they would get to split the proceeds, that rental 50%. And it was pretty amazing, actually, because we and the producers, I think we expected to have some nice views on it, but in the first week, I think they did over 3,000 views. And it was supposed to be a campaign only lasting through a weekend, and it's been extended for indefinitely, at least as of this recording. So that was really inspirational. And talking about the community and why New York City and other music, our music scene was very much intertwined, just from all the musicians that shop there, all the musicians that work there, and that's what brought me to the store as a musician, to work there and as a record lover to begin with. And so the documentary really reflects on that community element, and I think it can even go beyond the mom and pop record store. I think just like any sort of indie retailer, indie shop that has that following and that love for each other is reflected in this. So I think it's a story that transcends just the music community, but it definitely is a really interesting, unique story about other music.
Yeah, and terrible timing in a lot of ways, but great timing for this to do what you did with it. Kind of incredible.
And in a way, I think probably a lot more people ended up seeing the film this way than the theater run. So.
That's great. Dave, you have a different perspective because you work with, I don't know, hundreds of stores, lots and lots of stores.
Yeah.
Anything really interesting or amazing that people are doing?
I mean, what I'm seeing mostly is just stores, trying to be as inventive as possible, and whether it's, actual delivery or, contactless pickup, all that sort of thing. But, obviously in this day and age, most stores are a lot more internet and social media savvy, and the really great ones have really used that to highlight things for sale and how they can, how people can get them. And so I just think that all of that sort of outreach really helps build or maintain the real relationships that stores have with their customers.
That's great. And there's a topic I want to discuss that I'm not sure what everyone thinks about it, but I'm curious to get your perspectives. I mean, I'm sure everyone's aware of the things Bandcamp has been doing and artists have been doing through Bandcamp, where I think they typically take 10 or 15%, but they've been doing these days where, because obviously a lot of touring musicians are having a hard time, they're waiving their fees for a specific day. I think they've done 2 so far, and they have more coming up, and they've done just gangbusters, insane, record-breaking amounts of sales on those days, and it's great for artists, and it's great that people are discovering music. But I'm wondering if, I guess, how this can feed back to record stores. Obviously, this is happening at a time when most stores are closed, and if there's a concern out there that, not that Bandcamp is taking their business, because it's not Bandcamp, it's bands and artists basically selling direct to fans, but that it might make it harder for stores when people now know this other thing exists, where they feel like they're sort of paying the artist more directly. Sort of an open-ended question.
I'll say for us, I don't feel that it's in any way negatively impacting us. And just having musicians really speak directly to fans, they're also able to say, hey, support these indie record stores. Like, I know specifically, I've seen Lily Hyatt, who is an artist that we've worked with. She was an artist that was going to have an in-store performance. It would be maybe her third for her brand new record that came out on March 27th. Well, that in-store that we had planned was, we had to wipe that. And instead of her playing in the store, they had put a mural up of her. New West had asked us to have a mural put on the side of our building, and she came and played in front of it. And I've seen her post multiple times since then, support your indie record store. She did a really cool post the other day wearing a Seasick Records t-shirt, and, just in support of them, but also in support of indie record stores in general. Another Nashville-based artist, Nicole Atkins, did a post recently directing people like, hey, I already sold out of my new limited edition record on my web store, but there are lots of indie retailers that have this. Go out there and find it. And I feel like that, as you mentioned earlier, it's not like a charity situation. This is this artist who really like shopping at record stores. Both of those women shop at our record store, right, and they care for that. People are young and discovering music. They have this space that they can go and meet like-minded people and be turned on to things, not by algorithms, but by actual people. I think about one of the artists that has also kind of come to our rescue and really shown her support is Haley Williams from the band Paramore. And as a young person, Haley shopped at Grimey's. Paramore did an in-store at Grimey's a really long time ago when they were just releasing their first record. And, they've gone on to great commercial success. And now that she's had her first new record coming out, the idea was that we would do something with her. But at a time when we can't, she provided us with signed test pressings, just gave them to us to offer them to her fans. And it was a huge support for Grimey's. It was a great way to turn people, that her fans, on to our record store, but just on the idea of supporting record stores in general.
Right. Yeah, and really a drive to the collective consciousness that it's important to buy music right now. And
yeah.
now. And
yeah. I mean, other music, we do our since the stores closed, we've been doing an annual record fair, record label market, and music festival. We work with MoMA PS1 in Long Island City. The timing of this, again, was also affecting our annual event. It would have been the third one this year. And we ended up, obviously, the quarantine went into effect. You can't have, a couple thousand people in a room there at that point. So we were lucky to work with Bandcamp, who reached out directly to, we put them, worked directly with the labels, and Bandcamp. We did a virtual version of it all at the last second with Vimeo workshops with Pick Up the Flow, which is a music community here in New York, based in New York. Great documentary screening of the Keyboard Fantasy, the Beverly Glenn Copeland story. We had some DJ sets, and then we drove people to a specific Bandcamp page that they could shop from the different record labels that would have been at the record fair. Obviously, I don't think that replaces a hands-on community experience, which is what brings people into the record shop. It's that thrill of going in there, hearing something on the shop stereo you'd never heard before, you've forgotten about, and having some human being turn you on to that. And right now I think it's important that Bandcamp's filling that role of helping, indie artists, survive, because let's face it, with no touring revenue, they're missing out on the opportunity to sell their records between getting on the road, having people come into the local shops and all that. And, luckily, we are seeing stores open up with curbside pickups and delivering things. But, it does leave an open-ended question of how are we going to continue to community build through a record store in the future in this era of social distancing, and where you can't have a packed store on a Saturday now.
I have some Bandcamp thoughts as well. So I think these days a lot of records that still come with downloads, a lot of those downloads are through Bandcamp, and so I think it would be goofy to pretend that most people don't know it exists. But the one thing that I find is, when I look at our Bandcamp orders across the labels, a lot of those people do seem to think they are buying directly from the bands.
Right.
I imagine that most of those are pretty young consumers. And so that is a nuance that is lost on a lot of people. But overall, I think it's a great platform, and I would be, I have no problems with it. I think that they are incredibly supportive, and they're a wonderful platform. And in terms of what happens post social distancing, post quarantine, or anything like that, I really think that labels and everybody are just going to have to come up with some sort of full court press to really promote record stores and think about what everyone can do to get people back into stores. And,
right.
I know for us, we're thinking of, looking at, records that we might have excess of that might make good value adds, things like that. Anything that we can do to help promote our new records, as well as just in general promote stores, is what we're looking into at the moment.
Yeah. And this leads us right into how many record store days coming up?
Three.
The record store day is traditionally in April. Obviously, had to get skipped for.
My favorite part of it is the snide. Every day is record store.
Of course.
Now become a reality.
Right.
Yeah.
362 to go. So Record Store Day was obviously postponed in April, a huge loss for so many stores. And that's also an interesting part of this is, it's not just the holidays. Waterloo, I know, in Austin, South by Southwest is a massive thing for them that just didn't happen. There are lots of regional things like that. But Record Store Day is something that everyone counts on every year is, I think, now the biggest day for every store pretty much, right? So to have that just not happen.
Yeah.
But now there are 3 separate days in which all the approved releases are being staggered through those dates. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a number of the releases were actually changed to no longer be Record Store Day releases.
Right.
Maybe they're coming out as indie-only releases, or they're just coming out, period. Some, I think, have even shifted to maybe being D2C releases. But for Grimey's, we always had big events for Record Store Day. Yes, it was a giant day of sales. There were almost like these two competing things, or the lines of people to get the exclusive releases. And then there were the people who just wanted to party with us and watch bands and drink beer. Right. And right now, that's just off the table entirely. And as our in-store events, I think, for at least for a store like us, it doesn't seem like that's safe, and not until touring music is happening again with the re-performances and therefore events for people. So it definitely makes Record Store Day a different situation.
Yeah. Right. I mean, so for you, it'll be more about selling records than a huge party, obviously. Yeah. Right.
I mean, Dave and I worked at Other Music together, so he can attest to this too. Record Store Day was the biggest day of the year, as with every record store, probably indie record store. It was the biggest day. We could see, a good week or 2 weeks worth of normal day sales all accumulated into one day, with a line that would go around 2-3 blocks down, down the block. And but the thing is, it's an event. It wasn't just about coming in to buy those limited releases. I mean, that was obviously a bit what brought people there, but it was kind of seen as a music lover's holiday or music collector's holiday. And even people who were just kind of like wanting to dip their toes into getting something special, because you would, it was a camaraderie in there. You're going in there, there's, bands playing, there's DJs playing, there's like this really crazy vibe that just came with all that big amount of people there. And, it's great that it still can happen, but I don't think it is going to be a loss. It's going to be an impact, to the shops this year,
right?
And fans.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people will still come just to be excited about music. And I remember, even when we owned Sonic Boom, doing midnight sales all the time and being constantly shocked and amazed that 200 people would wait in line at 11:30 to buy a record that you could just buy the next morning. But it wasn't about that. It was about hearing it first and being with 200 people who are excited to hear it first. It's a similar vibe, where that's part of the record store thing, is being around people who are as excited as you are.
Yeah, I hope to see maybe stores that have like outdoor space, maybe to be able to have like some performances, DJs, special things happening there. So I hope they can still, tap into that vibe, even if it is slower 3 days. But, a lot of stores can't do that.
Sort of an open-ended, maybe wrapping it up question, but I guess what does the future hold is the question. But really, specifically as it relates to this, I mean, obviously it's a bad thing, but I wonder if there are some stores who have learned some things. And, Anna, you were saying that your store is so traditional and physical and never had that much of an online presence. But do you feel like there are people who, because they've been forced to, have built that and who communicate differently or better with their customers, and whether that means delivery or curbside or tweeting more or email lists? Just wondering if maybe there is some good that's come out of that.
For us specifically, I'd say that Grimey's has really ramped up online sales, and no longer is it just the t-shirts and gift certificates and pre-orders tied to signings at in-store performances. It's surprising to me when every day I look at my email and I see orders from all over the country for things. Sometimes it's pre-orders for things, and maybe those are unique items, limited indie things, but it's just My Morning Jacket records. It's just whatever, Dolly Parton albums that people are buying from all over the country, that are very excited about buying physical records from us. And for all the record labels that pestered us over the last 5 years, I'd say, about ramping up our pre-orders. Well, here we are. We've done that. We are offering the pre-orders for the people and just shipping everywhere. It's also encouraged us, to continue with social media. I feel like we've done a pretty good job engaging with our customers on social media, but maybe it's meaningful in a different way now to be able to do that.
All right. Dave, are you seeing or hearing anything from your stores?
All the same sort of stuff. I think that, some stores, have sort of not worried about a website or anything, and they'll just go harder on Instagram and Twitter. And it's been very effective for them, So I don't know if the actual, if the actual website is the important thing. I think it's about, repeated, engagement and follow through.
Yeah, letting people know you exist.
Exactly, yeah. And then I think, after this, I think, like I said, everybody's just going to have to give it an extra push and, try to hit it extra hard.
I was just going to say, I think it's just about also making sure the stores make it a safe experience, feel like the customer is having a safe experience, because a lot of people are going to be really nervous going into a store again. Record shopping is a very hands-on experience, as we know. And I think, things like I've been seeing, like with all the shops I follow and love, a lot of them in my home state of Florida are doing curbside pickups and deliveries now. And I've definitely been seeing a lot of really cool social media things happening on Instagram feeds and on their Facebook pages. One store in Miami, Sweat Records, has like kind of a club, a membership club, where they're doing a monthly membership where you pay a fee and you have different premiums for that fee. So I think to everybody's point, it's been really cool seeing, not really cool because this is not a good thing that has happened, but it's been really interesting.
I know what you mean, yeah.
It's been, seeing the creativity kick in, because let's face it, you don't go into working or running a record store because you want to make a lot of money. You're doing it because you genuinely love records and you generally just want to be a part of it. And you're going to have a passion to try to find a way to survive through this.
Yeah, those might be perfect closing words, unless anyone has any more closing thoughts. This has been great. Thank you all for participating. Great perspectives, good conversation. Hopefully see you all in a record store soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Guys, hope to see
Okay,
you
thanks.
soon.
It was nice to see you guys and nice to meet you, Gerald.